Hello. Today I'm going to attempt to repair what appears to be a broken steam sensor in my GE over-the-range Profile microwave oven. A number of electrical problems that occur in these type of microwave oven can be repaired without having to remove the unit from the mounting on the wall. And the steam sensor, with a little bit of finagling, can be repaired in this way with this particular model. Now, before we go any further, remember, if your model does not exactly match this one, you either can't do this repair or you have to take extra cautions to understand what's different in your model from mine. So first thing we're going to do is get the model number of this one, and this model is PNM9216SK1SS. Now, with this particular microwave, there is a steam sensor which is located behind this plastic panel, behind a metal panel, and behind the control panel is the magnetron, the high voltage capacitor, and the high voltage diode. Let's talk about microwave electrical safety before we even get started. Microwaves have lethal electricity in certain parts of them. In particular, in a microwave, wherever the magnetron is located and the capacitor and the rectification diode, that's where the high voltage would be. In this particular model, the high voltage is located behind the control panel, and the area we're going to be working in today is all the way on the opposite side of the microwave, and there are no dangerous voltages over on this side. Your microwave, of course, may be very different. So take that into account when you're working on any appliance and you're taking apart any covers or opening up any access points. The other thing about microwaves are we are going to be removing a metal shield, and when we run a test, if you run a test, be very cognizant that if you operate the microwave without all the metal shields in place, that you run the risk of exposing yourself to microwave energy. So you have to be very careful to make sure you place all the metal shields back in place before you turn the microwave on. Alright, so let's take a look at what the problem is with this particular microwave. I'll grab my handy dandy cup of water, put that in the microwave, and with this particular microwave, if we do a regular cook time, let's do 15 seconds, it'll warm or cook our item. But if we use any of the sensor features here, I'll push beverage, this is what happens. So it sees the item and it's going to attempt to run the magnetron, and after a few seconds it's going to be upset about the steam sensor. Magnetron has turned on. And we get the error message that says the steam sensor is open because it can't detect steam. So this occurs with all of the sensor functions. The rest of the microwave works fine. So this is what we're about to fix. Okay, let's talk about the tools we're going to need to repair this microwave. The tools I'm going to use are a flat blade screwdriver. I'll show you where that comes into play. A Phillips head screwdriver with a pretty long handle. Put that over there for the moment. A pair of needle nose pliers. And whenever I do a repair, especially involving metal objects, I always wear my gloves. So first thing I'm going to do is put on my gloves so I don't get injured. And last but certainly not least, we have our replacement steam sensor. Opening up the microwave to access the maintenance panels is done as follows. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to unplug the microwave from the wall so that there's no power going into the microwave. So I'm going to unplug the power cord. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my screwdriver, and there are two screws, Phillips head, at the top of the microwave, one here and one here. I'm going to carefully remove those two screws. I'll show a close-up of the top. They're at the front, right behind the plastic piece in the metal. So we have one on the right. And one on the left. Careful not to lose any of these things. There. Okay, after the screws have been removed, we're going to open the door. We're going to open the door halfway. So the door is open 90 degrees to the front of the unit. And then we can take the entire plastic piece in the top and we're going to slide it to the left and then out. Because there's catches on the bottom here that need to slide to the left. So we'll grab it, slide it to the left. So it's, now you see the gap on the left side. Door's open 90 degrees. And then you can just pull it down and then straight out. All right, and there's these little catches on the bottom which goes into these slots in the metal frame. And we'll put this piece aside. Now would be a good time to clean the filter if you're using the indoor. Charcoal filters up here. Let's take a quick look at the lay of the land, where we're going to be and where we're not. If you need to remove or service the control panel, there's a screw here that allows you to remove the control panel. And behind this metal plate here, which I'm not going to show in this video, is the circuitry for the main processing. And behind that is the magnetron, the rectification diode, and the capacitor. Extremely high voltages in this area. We're not going to enter this area without taking the proper precautions. So we're going to stay away from the stuff on the right side on this one. The steam sensor that we're going to repair today is located behind this metal panel on the left. And GE was nice enough to give us 2 screws to access this panel. However, they, on the left-hand side, right-hand side are 2 Phillips head screws, easy to remove. On the left-hand side, they have an interlocking metal fingers, and I'll draw a diagram to show how they're interlocking. In order to actually remove this panel, it's a pain in the butt because the interlocks on the left side have to be pried apart. And once they're pried apart, you can still use them, and the screws will keep the metal panel attached and secure while the microwave is working. Now, since we're going to be working in this section, I'm going to move the door a little bit as best I can, and I'm going to zoom into this section so you can see what I'm working on. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the 2 Phillips head screws. The first Phillips head screw we're going to remove is this one right here. Put it up top. And then this one, there's a little interference with the top edge, so that's why you need a nice long thin blade, a thin shaft screwdriver. We'll take this screw out here. Okay. Now, I've done this once to make sure this was even possible. So mine is a little bit easier to remove, but I'm going to show you the basic procedure that I used, and you're going to have to work on yours on your own. Once you remove these 2 screws, this whole metal assembly will slide left to right. Underneath here, there's a catch which catches on the fixed metal piece in the middle. So this whole thing will slide out to the left. And then what you're going to need to do is there are fingers that come, and I'll show you a diagram. There's fingers that come behind here in this plate. You kind of have to take your flat-bladed screwdriver, go in here, and start prying it. And then once you get it just to the right spot, you look over to the left. You have to stick your screwdriver in here and push towards the back of the unit until you get the metal clips behind sufficiently spread out so that you can work this metal free. It is a bit of a chore. I don't know why GE made this so difficult. And also, this piece, when you look at it, snaps into the bottom frame, which also keeps it together. So once you have the screws out, you can wiggle this back and to the left.
It may be difficult to visualize how the front panel attaches to the left side, so I've created a few models in Tinkercad to help visualize the mechanical connection. The front is held in place by 4 fingers in the side panel, 2 of which protrude through the slots in the front, as shown by this blue finger right here and here, and 2 smaller fingers that protrude through the side. So you can see the ones in the back protruding here and over here. The goal is to use a small flat blade screwdriver to wedge in between the gap right here between the front and side panel, separating them to bend the fingers apart. So as we wedge here, you can see the fingers are separating and bending apart. So here they are bent apart. Then, after the front panel is freed, and I'll make this, what you will end up doing here is the rear fingers get bent away. You'll bend them flat so that they do not stay in the way, or bend them and get rid of them. And then the front fingers, the net result is that you'll have the 2 rear facing fingers repaired facing back, so they'll fit through the slots over here, and you'll have the front facing fingers bent back into the holes. I've shown them removed, but you'll see them bent back into the holes, or you can bend them all the way in the back so they don't come into play. The objective here is you're going to eventually take this piece when you want to reassemble it, and you want to slip it up against here and then send it forward against these fingers, and that will be sufficient to lock it back in place when you're ready to reassemble the microwave. Okay, hopefully these 3D panels were helpful.
Power's off, right? So we're going to grab this assembly, and I can pull the whole thing to the left, and then I have to work okay. So that gets this metal piece. Grab our needle nose. Start working this. I'm going to pull that. See, mine's already free. And then I can remove the piece. And now, it should be pretty obvious, forward, that the steam sensor is right here. The steam sensor is now positioned right inside this container. It's located right on this wall. Now the steam sensor has a plastic lock. The way you remove the lock is you take your finger and you flip up the plastic part from the front. So I'm flipping it up to the back. And once you do that, it'll snap right off. So I lift it up from the front edge, and I lift it up, and it snaps right off the top. I'll put that down here for the moment. And then all you need to do is pull the steam sensor straight out. Be very careful, because you want to make sure you have the same orientation of the pins. So my pins are oriented with 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom. So we'll put the bad steam sensor here, and I'll take the replacement steam sensor, orient the 3 pins on the top and the 3 pins on the bottom, stick your hand in here, and it should slide right in place. I'll move out of the way so you can see the replacement steam sensor is in place. And then in order to finish it, we're going to need to snap this plastic piece back in. The large edge, the large semicircle here, goes over the silver, the solid silver part of the steam sensor, and the small section goes right in the back. So all I do is position it not on the screen, but behind the screen. Start at the top, and you push it straight down. Of course, it's a little hard for me to do it with right side, but it'll just go right down. Just keeps the steam sensor from wiggling out due to vibration. Now the steam sensor is in place. On the left-hand side, these 2 tabs, if you haven't bent them all the way out, I bent mine all the way out, and I bent these back in place so that I can clip the metal housing back in. You cannot run the microwave without the front cover in place. There's only plastic here, and there's holes here. Microwave radiation is going to radiate out. So we won't run a test until the plate is at least back in place. All right, now we're going to put the metal plate back. So my goal here with this plate is these 2 holes on the left-hand side will slip into these 2 tabs and lock the left-hand side of this plate back on this left side of the cage. This is going to have to slip underneath, and this tab will go into this little metal part. And you can push the whole assembly back and forward in order to get this to slip in. And then last but not least, the right edge of the cage has to slip in between these 2 tabs to lock in the right-hand side, and then we'll put the screws back in. So first thing we have to do is we have to get this back down, and then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and grab our pliers, and we'll catch the left side edges. So left side edges are caught. So the left clip up there and the bottom clip down there are caught. And then the last thing we need to do, and I need to step up 1 second just to get it in place, is the bottom tab on the front has to slip into this little piece right here. So we'll grab the whole assembly. So the bottom assembly, the bottom tab is in place on the left. Pull this forward. Oops. Slide it to the right. So now I have the 2 clips on the left-hand side anchored against here, right there, and right there. They go through the holes and they point to the back. And the catch on the front is underneath this guide here. So we now have this caught anchoring this whole left-hand side. And the last thing we need to do is get the right-hand side metal underneath these tangs. I'm going to use a little thin screwdriver in order to grab the metal on the right-hand side, while I'm using my other hand to hold the front part in place so I can slip the right-hand side underneath these tabs. put that clip in on the right. Let's get the clip in on the left. Metal part from the side slips over front of the tab on the right. We have our piece down here. This is over top, this is there, left sides are in, and now we're ready to put the screws back. So I like to put the front one in first. I'm not going to tighten it all the way just yet until I get all screws in, mostly down. That way I can wiggle this whole thing. Now we're going to put the bottom one in. Thankful for magnetic screws. And that one goes in. So yes, to make sure we've got everything in good shape, screw in through the back panel on the right, screw on the bottom nice and tight. Clip is in, so this piece doesn't move back, and this is latched in on the top and the bottom, and that's enough. Now we can do a test before we put the plastic cover back on, because the plastic cover is just cosmetic. I'm going to go ahead and do a test to make sure that everything is working correctly now, and then we'll go ahead and put the plastic cover back on. We still have our cup of water. Metal plate is back in. We'll close the door. I'm going to hit the sensor microwave beverage, and let's see what happens. Magnetron is just turned on. And as you can see, it now says the food is ready and does not give an error message. Through the magic of editing, I didn't make you sit through all 2 minutes for it to cook that, but it really did last for 2 minutes. So all set. So we're ready now to just replace the plastic pieces, and we're all set with our repair. So I'll do that next. Now that our food is cooked and we know it's working with the new steam sensor in place, we're ready to put the last set of covers back. So I'll go ahead and open this up. It's up to you whether or not you want to pull the power on this. We're just really going to be putting the plastic piece back on the front, so we don't really have to take the power off for that, because there's nothing really going on. But if you feel more comfortable unplugging it for this operation, you can feel free to do so. Okay, this is the plastic cover that goes on. If you want to take the opportunity to clean the grease off or clean the filter while you're here, you can certainly do that while you have the case open. And then in order to put this back on, well, first we're going to open the door 90 degrees to the front of the cabinet. And then we've got to get these 3 plastic tabs to fit into these 3 slots. And then we're going to shove the entire plastic piece to the right. So the top edge goes underneath the metal frame, and this little plastic extension slips behind the door. So behind the door on the left, push everything forward. Okay, all my plastic tabs on the bottom 3 are in. I'm offset to the left-hand side, and then I'm underneath the metal. And then when I'm all good, I slide it to the right. And then what's going to happen is it'll stay, and I'm going to climb up one set of stairs so I can see the screw holes. The plastic will line up with the metal screw holes. Phillips head screwdriver, and ready to put the last 2 screws back in. So we put 1. There we go. And now we're all set. Covers are back in place. Tabs are locked in on the bottom. Door closes nicely, and we're all set. All right, so hopefully this has been helpful. One other thing to mention about the steam sensors. This is a steam sensor. The one that I replaced is a steam sensor that actually came out of a Samsung product. They are listed, even though this is a GE microwave, these have the nomenclature Figaro 880. So that's the actual manufacturer part number, and it's used in large numbers of microwaves. So you can buy the exact GE replacement steam sensor, or you can buy the one that says Figaro 880. And I'll leave a link in the description with a picture of this to show you what it looks like on the bottom. This is the genuine one that came out of the original OEM one that came out of this microwave. And I'll also send you a link to the data sheet. But the GE ones use the same as other manufacturers. As long as you get a Figaro 880, that's equivalent to the GE part for this particular model number. As I said earlier, remember your model may be different or may use a different part, but a lot of times GE uses a lot of the same carcasses and a lot of the same internals, so hopefully this will be useful for you. Thanks for watching.